What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, I'm going to talk a little Terence Crawford press conference that took place and some very interesting statements that he made about Bob Arum and his Terence Crawford's inability to make fights, and how he's pretty much got to sit around and wait for them to make the fight, and there's really nothing make fights, and there's nothing they can really do about it. And specifically, he says I can put a gun to their head, but that still won't make him make the fights that he wants, and he's just got to do what he's got to do. Now, that obviously has ramifications and is in reference in large part to the Errol Spence Jr. fight, so we will chop it up about that. But before I do that, I want to welcome you back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, and even if you are subscribed, hit the bell icon and make sure that you have checked all notifications so that you can get all of the notifications for our live streams and our videos, which we do Monday through Friday. We do videos pretty much every day, at least one a day. Also, we do our live streams in the morning, starting time around 10:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. And also Sunday mornings, we have OG Boxing Talk with myself, Blood Boxing, KQKC, and we also have the Patreon. But make sure you check that notification bell and select all notifications so that you make sure that you can get those notifications. Now, let's go through what Terence Crawford said. And he was talking about the Manny Pacquiao fight as an experience. And then I'm going to go back and let you know, read you something that came from Bob Arum, and then talk about what I think this says about the Errol Spence Jr. fight. Terence Crawford says, man, listen, I can put pressure, I can put a gun to their head, but it ain't gonna make them make the fight happen. They're gonna make the fight happen when they want it to happen. I put pressure on them for years with the Pacquiao fight, and the Pacquiao fight never happened. So it's not my job to worry about that. I just have to keep fighting the fights that they put in front of me and feed my family. I just want people to respect me for my talent and the skills that I have, and a willingness to go in there and fight anybody and everybody that's available. Now, let me reiterate what he said, or repeat what he said. And then I'm going to read you something from Bob Arum. Man, listen, I can put pressure. I can put a gun to their head, but it still ain't going to make them make the fight happen. They're going to make the fight happen when they want it to happen. I put pressure on them for years with the Pacquiao fight, and the Pacquiao fight never happened. I put pressure on them for years with the Pacquiao fight, and the Pacquiao fight never happened. So who is they? Who is the they in this? Let's listen to what Bob Arum said. And this is a Fight Hype interview. And it is, not Fight Hype interview. It is a Fight Hub TV interview, and it's up on their page, it's up on their YouTube page, as well as the badlefthook.com. Quoting Bob Arum. He said, well, I killed the fight. Yeah, I wouldn't want that for Manny because I know how it would end. Not that I knew it would end in serious disability for Manny. That I wouldn't know. But as a fight, it would only end way. Forget my emotions. I want to see him take. I wouldn't want to see him take that kind of damage because it might affect his future life, quality of his future life. Again, I killed the fight because I knew how it would end. Bob Arum saying that he did not let Terence Crawford fight the fight with Manny Pacquiao. So when Terence Crawford is saying the fight is only going to happen when they want the fight to happen, he's saying it's only going to happen when Bob Arum wants to make the fight happen. They're going to make the fight happen when they want it to. Bob's going to make the fight when Bob wants it to happen. I could put pressure on Bob for years with the I put pressure on Bob for years with the Pacquiao fight, and the Pacquiao fight never happened. I just have to keep fighting the fights that Bob puts in front of me and feed my family. Now, I don't have a problem with that statement that he's got to fight and he's got to take care of his family. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But when we're talking about who is ducking who and the reason why the fight, the Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford fight may take longer to make than a lot of people want, it's more than likely going to be because of Bob Arum. Please go back and look at the confrontation that took place. I do believe this is up on Ellie Sethback's channel. The confrontation that took place after the Maurice Hooker fight between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and Bob Arum was in the room. And Errol Spence told Bob Arum, if you want to make the fight, call my promoter. And then he picked up the phone and said, oh, I'm my promoter, so call to make the fight. Bob Arum is going to be the one that allows Terence Crawford to make that fight or not allow Terence Crawford to make that fight. And I have said this before and I'm going to say it again. If you look at how Bob Arum operates, Bob Arum takes a long time to make big fights where you have different promoters involved. He does not make those fights quickly. And in the past, this is what I believe. I believe that he is of the mind that he will make more money fighting multiple fights where he knows that he can make a profit and he knows what the outcome of the fight's going to be, as long as it's close enough to be exciting, right? But not so close that he's going to lose to a fighter or the fight's going to go some way that he doesn't want it to go. And he would rather have multiple fights, 5 or 6 fights, where he can make a good amount of money than one fight where he makes a lot of money, especially if he has to give up control of that event. If Terence Crawford does not do 300,000 pay-per-views against Amir Khan on ESPN, that will certainly be the case that Bob Arum will not have the control in the negotiations for a fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. So I'm not going to blame Terence Crawford for why this fight, if this fight does not get made, I'm not going to blame Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford is being straight up honest about it. He's saying, look, man, I can't do anything about it. It's not within my power. It's not within my control. Now, I could go back and do something which is pretty much fruitless at this point, and I've done it, and that's why I know it's fruitless, because I've done it multiple times. And it's almost like, what difference does it make at this point? What's in the past is in the past. He could have not signed with Bob Arum. He could have signed with the PBC, and then he would have been on the same quote unquote side of the street as the rest of the welterweight champions. And then he could have negotiated for fights with those guys, either himself through his promotional contract, or worked with a promoter or a manager. I think, Cameron Duncan his manager? I'm not sure who his manager is, but he could have got the fight done that way. But that's just not the case. That's not what he did. He resigned with Top Rank, and it is what it is. But I do not want two things to happen. Number one, I don't want to put too much pressure on Terence Crawford, because I really, truly appreciate honesty. If he's saying that's what he's got to do, and if Bob Arum can make that fight, he's willing to go and get it done, and he's willing to get in the ring, okay, I absolutely believe that. I don't believe that it'll be a situation where Bob Arum wants to make the fight and Terence Crawford is saying, no, I don't want to make that fight. I'm not going to do it. Give me somebody else. I don't think that that's the case. Hopefully, it's not a case where Bob Arum is saying, similar to the Manny Pacquiao situation, that he doesn't like what the outcome of the fight is going to be. So since I believe I know what the outcome of the fight is going to be, I'm not going to make the fight. Because that is an interesting admission from Bob Arum. When Bob Arum believed that his money guy, who was Manny Pacquiao, couldn't beat somebody, he didn't make the fight. Right? So it's not out of question that he might do that again. So anyway, it is what it is. Again, I respect Terence Crawford for answering honestly and being open with that. And hopefully the fight gets made. But with that, I'm out. Peace.